Hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is June 30th and we're coming up on the end of the month, and then we also have 4th of July coming up, so remember that the markets are closed on Monday, and that way you won't be trying to get it someplace that nobody's going to be home. All right, so it's a couple of things I wanted to show you guys here over at profitpilot.com, and the last newsletter I had here, I went in and showed a few of the calls and trades and stuff that I put out on through the Moxie alert service, and then I showed them up on Twitter. So if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, you can come over here. It's at TG_profitpilot, and you can kind of see what else that I'm putting out there. So just more ways to follow me if you're interested and see this stuff that I'm talking about. We've had some really good calls. I mean, a couple of them last, the other day, I put it out 5 minutes and then 9 minutes after the open, and that was the day that the market rolled over. So some pretty good timing on that one. All right, so if we come over here and we're looking at the S&P and what's going on, it's still very much of a mixed bag. Historically, I've experienced that the market tends to be bullish going into the 4th of July. It's kind of like a rah America kind of thing like that. And this year does not look like that's really going to be happening. Now, we could get an update tomorrow, which will be Friday, which is by the time you guys are going to see this. And so, sure, that might happen. That is not what I would call seasonally bullish going into the 4th of July if just the day before the weekend is bullish. So we're going to have to see if that happens. And if it does happen, it's not really going to be what I would have considered to be bullish going into the 4th of July. Bullish going into the 4th of July would have been better if it had actually lasted a few days and, more like most of the week. And we're not seeing that. It would have been fantastic if we were actually seeing it more like this. If we had seen that, that would have been fantastic. And what I was trying to do is figure out, okay, so we started this last week going into this week. And I was like, okay, well, I see the pattern that I have. We need to see price get rejected here and come back down here on the hourly chart. And I was like, well, it could do it. It could do it in enough time. And so that's why when we saw this big move down, I was like, oh, cool. This could actually be working out. That's what we need. We need that pullback into the 50, and then we could actually get a move up here. And I would have considered that to be bullish going into the 4th of July if it lasted 3 days. Well, we didn't get that. So we went down, then yesterday we went sideways, and today we just had this whatever, Now, going into, okay, so one more other thing about economic information. We had consumer price expenditures, and they came in lower than expected, which from my understanding means two things. One, it means that consumers are spending less. So that could mean they're just spending less. Things are expensive. They're not putting out as much. They are consuming less. So demand is less. That is bad for, say, retailers, and could be kind of bad for the economy as a whole because it means people are spending less. On the other side of it, my understanding is that it could also mean that inflation isn't as bad as they thought, because if you are having to spend more in order to live the same life, then your expenses would go up because inflation's up. So, kind of a push-pull on that. Either way, regardless of the report that came out Wednesday into Thursday, so today that I'm recording this, you can see here that price was flagging sideways into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator was below zero. So that is what told me not to go long yesterday and to say there's probably more downside to come Thursday. And in fact, there was. Now, the other thing I said is that, and again, these are all in the Moxie room alerts that I'm telling the subscribers, but I was saying, hey, I'm still kind of trying to see if this seasonal bullish for the 4th of July is going to happen. And, no surprise that we had price move down like this. And then after that, what it could do is maybe it would trigger a oversold rally, oversold, so buying rally and something like that. And we kind of got that. You can see that we actually put in a gap, and it was a pretty forceful move down. But where'd it go? It went right into kind of the previous low area, which is good. That's what I was expecting. It was a trampoline move on the hourly chart, so price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. And it came into the third ATR on the hourly chart, which all said, hey, it's getting a little bit too oversold, coming into support, and maybe this thing will bounce. Well, it did, but it's still having to work itself out. The potential trampoline move still exists. The potential elf shoe on the daily chart still exists. We'll have to see if we actually get an elf toe. And then, but as far as on the 15, it's still right there, got rejected by the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator is still below zero. We did see some positive divergence though, so price down, but the Moxie indicator's up. So maybe that's the beginning of something. So it's just if this is going to go up, if this is going to be bullish, it's still just working itself out, and there's nothing I could really see yet because I'm not exactly a dip buyer, so I would be guessing if I wanted to be long at this point. It might be correct, but again, it's a guess, so it's just not confirmed yet. We don't have price over the 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator is not over zero yet. So it's just kind of not doing much. And if we look here on the hourly chart, we can see we might have a bit of an elf shoe here too. So leg, heel, arch of the foot, maybe that's the ball of the foot, and then we'll have to see if we get the elf toe. So I'm trying to see this through a bullish lens, but it's really tough to be really kind of grasping at anything for this. So that's the UVXY, or sorry, that's the SPY. I'd like to see if we could be bullish, but to what end? If price does move up, it could just be into resistance before we roll over. Or what if this thing really just kind of does this for a while before going down? One way to think about that, because if you can't really visualize that, just look at Tesla. There's a perfect example of something that has largely gone sideways, So, and this is my point, is that we could get kind of a move up and running into some resistance here, and then you get to move down. Ultimately, even though there's a lot of up and down, ultimately this is really just going sideways. Okay, I mean, it's put in a really, really big gap, between price and the daily 50, and oftentimes we do want to see price come back to the 50. But in this case, since we're in a bear market, it looks like a bear flag. I mean, I was trying to see if there was some bullishness, because here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, and we're trying to see the elf toe. Well, is there maybe another elf toe? Maybe. But what if none of that works? What if that double bottom really doesn't go anywhere? What if it is a double bottom until it finally breaks, and all of this is just price going sideways, trying to get the 50 closer to price, or price closer to the 50? So that's kind of what's going on here. There just hasn't really been anything to do here. There was a double bottom here with a trampoline move, and we got to move up, but it gave it all back. So like, okay, what are you supposed to do? And then here on the 15-minute time frame, you can see price is still getting rejected by the underside of the 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator is below zero. And spread. So that doesn't look strong. So even if, and I always have to kind of make sure we look at both sides of this stuff, but even if price were able to get up over here, that Moxie indicator doesn't look very strong. And so what that would kind of look like is more like a move up into resistance before actually moving down. Just really isn't much to work with here. All right, so that was kind of a flag sideways on a larger time frame on the daily chart to kind of show you. Let me show you the UVXY. I've been looking at this for quite some time, trying to figure out what's going on with it. And we've had some decent calls. You can see here the price has been going like that and basically running like that. So we're getting it into a wedge. It feels like something is getting closer and closer and closer to happening, especially with the UVXY to the upside. And if we kind of look at, say, the market, or if we look at, say, Amazon and Tesla, which I'll do in a minute, we could be seeing Tesla flagging sideways into the underside of a downtrending daily 50, and if that's not bullish, it could actually be running into that before it breaks lower. So right now, it's just catching its breath because it had a really big move to the downside, and it's just going sideways until it's actually going to go lower. That is a possibility, because if this UVXY, if the VIX starts to actually break out, yeah, we're going lower. And so that's why I'm saying that even for the S&P, we need to be prepared that all this could just be going sideways. We may not actually go up. We might just go sideways until we go lower. So that is something that we really need to keep in mind and kind of, as I've been saying lately, keep our heads on a swivel. Okay, that's pilot talk. My dad always taught me growing up in the airplane that this is before ADS-B, basically onboard radar essentially. And the only way to avoid other airplanes when you're flying around is to literally look for them. So you just had to keep your head on a swivel, always looking around, making sure you're checking your surroundings. And I feel like with this market, with the back and forth, that's kind of where we're at. So you gotta you gotta keep your head on a swivel. So the UVXY, we did notice here, price was going down. The Moxie indicator was generally going up. So I was expecting a bounce in the UVXY. We had a few of the Moxie traders tackle that for a small gain, worked out. And that meant the market pulled back. Okay, so now that we've gotten this should be an inverse trampoline move. So I'm kind of curious to see if price is going to come back down here. Maybe it keeps going further. There is a bit of a trend line a little bit further. And so I'm going to see if that happens. But I'm noticing that the Moxie indicator is starting to put in some divergence. And here, the Moxie indicator is starting to stay over 0 compared to, let me slide over here, before. And we're just starting to see that here. Like it was getting over 0, but it wasn't staying over the 15-minute 50. This is starting to feel a little bit different. Okay, so seems as though something, like, look at that. See, that's very different. Okay, so something seems to be happening. I would be expecting the UVXY to move down a little bit from here, but I don't know how much further down. Like, what if it only stops here and that becomes the next major move? So on guard, keep your head on a swivel and be on guard for whatever the market's going to be throwing at us in the coming weeks. The NASDAQ, basically the same thing as the S&P. It's not doing much. I was expecting this pullback, so that worked out nicely. But we still can't really get much traction here. Yes, trampoline move on the hourly, but again, we got to wait for that to happen. It's just potential. And potential double bottom here on the daily chart. But, what if this is just flagging sideways until it goes lower? That's possible too. So not much going on there. The IWM, as I said, they're all looking the same. I was expecting that pullback. We got the pullback. Now we're trying to see if price is going to go up. Well, if it does, where's it going to go? Is it going to be able to actually get any place? I don't know, but it's just not looking, it's just not looking awesome. I would like to think that the IWM, that the markets, the NASDAQ, the SPY are going to move up, but I don't know where they're going to go and how far they're going to go, and it doesn't seem very strong. So that's the backdrop of what I'm viewing here. Apple, again, it's going to be moving like the market. You can see we got the pullback that I was looking for. It is a potential trampoline move here. It's a retest the area, double bottom, so we're looking for positive divergence, but we've been seeing that they haven't necessarily been holding. And even though we do have some positive divergence, or maybe lack of negative divergence, that's something, but we are still underneath the downtrending moving average, and the Moxie indicator is still below 0. So I don't see much to do here either, not until something changes. And again, how long until it changes, like how long is it going to go for? We're not sure. But what I would like to see in order for us to see a clean move is like that. That's when the Moxie indicator is over 0, it's nice and tight, and we get a nice move like that. We're just not there yet, right? We're just not there. And it may not be there. This might continue to be weak and break down. So that's the whole thing I'm trying to communicate to you guys. Google, even though it has the stock split coming up, and usually it's bullish going into the stock split, it hasn't kicked in yet. And a lot of times it's about a week before that happens, and it's on the 15th. So we still have some time until maybe this thing really kicks in. Same story here. It just hasn't been doing much. And it got rejected here by the downtrending daily 50. It has been following the 15-minute 50 down. And same thing. We're just not seeing any kind of strength or support here on the 15-minute time frame. So nothing happening. And then, so let's see, with that, Tesla, we already did Tesla. How about Amazon? Same kind of story. And then actually, if we look at Shopify, because I wanted to show you guys, it had its stock split, and it had a move, but it was a quick move. This was basically the run going into the stock split, and then came all the way back down. So this is the concern, say with Google, that if it does have a move to the upside, you better sell into that stock split because it rolls right back over. Granted, this one did run into pretty good timing with the rest of the market. The market was going up and then down at the same time that the stock split was about to happen and then happened. So very interesting on that one. And then if we kind of branch out a little bit, if we look at FXI, we look at the Chinese sector, this too has been what I've been calling for. Essentially, it's a 50-250 maneuver. And we can see here that price went higher on the hourly, but the Moxie indicator went down. And then you can see price went higher, but notice that the Moxie indicator was level, and now the Moxie indicator is down. So this has been working out well. We've been trading short some Chinese names, and they're taking their time, but they're working. And I think we're going to be adding to them. And yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunity. So in one of them, we were able to actually take one trade, and then I'm setting up for another trade pretty soon. So this looks like this should be weakening and moving down sometime soon. Baba, Baidu, all those things, they're all kind of looking the same way. All right, then if we look at, say, UNG, I am amazed at how bad this thing has gotten. So not only did it start, I think, up here because of the I think it's LNG, the whatever company it was that's in Texas, that they had part of their plant catch on fire, and they were going to have 3-week repairs, but then it said they were going to be at the end of the summer, and that kind of is what sparked this. And but then we also see that the inflation, commodity inflation play kind of rolled over and died. So it's like a 1-2 punch with, say, UNG. It did originally get down here to, say, the daily 30 ATR, bounced, and then just kept going. I was actually pretty surprised. It did hit the weekly. You can see this was where it bounced off of the weekly 21, and it decided to go right through it. So seriously heavy stuff. When this gives up the ghost, boy, it's just rolling over hard, real hard. So that's UNG, natural gas. If we look at USO, and I think basically the same thing is happening with USO. Okay, I just don't see it any other way. Of course, it could be chopping around, it could be messy, but generally speaking, I have a feeling that this was kind of the last run. I think that was the blow off top run, and now we are starting to see price get below the daily 50. Moxie indicator negative, and this was an inverse trampoline move on the hourly chart. So yeah, this is looking pretty rough, and I think you guys should take note of that. Also, it seems to be that when oil finally craps out, that's when the market also craps out even more. So do watch out for that, because this was basically the last bullish area of the market, and if that is no longer the case, then really what's holding up the market? Not a whole lot. All right, then if we look at TAN, oops, missed that one, TAN, if we look at this as far as the solar, I know a lot of people have been talking about this because I think the idea was, well, if oil is really expensive, then if we go to renewables, then we can kind of get off oil and all that kind of stuff, and so maybe solar could have a resurgence. Hey, I love that idea. I love that idea as far as the economy goes, and solar and alternative fuels, love it. But that doesn't change what price is going to do. If money is just coming out of the market, we're not going to just see like solar, doing really well. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. We still have the 50 below the 200, so it's still technically bearish. Yes, I know the indicator is kind of positive, but ultimately it's just ping-ponging between here, and I don't see a setup yet. So it's really just been back and forth, back and forth. Feel free to trade it on lower time frames, but just hasn't done anything as far as a swing trading or something that I can really work with very well. So that's TAN with the solars. LABU, so Biotech was kind of strong for the last couple days, again with kind of the whole market moving up for a little bit, but then it moved back at the same time. Essentially, it ran into the downtrending daily 50. Yes, it looked like basically there was a double bottom, and it had a good move. Here you go. There's the nice Moxie setup, double bottom, divergence, run the 15-minute time frame, all that looked great. However, and this is what I've been communicating to the Moxie subscribers, is like, well, this is going to roll over. In fact, this is one of the things that I posted on Twitter. So if you guys want to go check that out, I posted this on Twitter about 5 or 9 minutes after they opened, and next thing we know, it just got slammed. So that was really, really good timing. And basically, it was too good of a move on the 15-minute time frame that it was creating a problem on the hourly time frame. And I could see that, and I was like, this is going to pull back, and sure enough, it did. And I think it's going to keep moving down. So I do not see any strength here. It is not doing anything in the 15. The Moxie indicator is below zero. There's nothing going on here. So that's pretty much what's going on, which is a whole lot of weakness, a whole lot of not too exciting, but I think things are going to continue to drift downward. So hopefully you're on the right side of the trade. And if you guys are interested in how I talk about this and guide and everything else, just remember, come over to profitpilot.com, look at services, and you can sign up for the Moxie trading room. All right, guys, I'll catch you later.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.